A black woman saw a famous actor throw an expensive crib into the trash. When she got closer to the crib, her whole body trembled. On a dark night, Maria Johnson hurried through the poorly lit alley near her home, worried about how she would feed her two young children the next day. The daily struggle to survive since her husband abandoned her seemed endless. As she passed by a pile of trash, something shiny caught her attention. She saw a well-dressed man whose face seemed vaguely familiar, discarding an expensive crib into the dumpster. Curious and a bit suspicious, Maria approached to investigate. The crib, despite being in the trash, was in perfect condition, indicating its high value. Seeing an opportunity to make some money, she decided to rescue it. However, as she dragged it out of the dumpster, a soft crying sound made her tremble. Inside the crib, wrapped in a thin, clean blanket, was a baby. Maria's heart raced with surprise and compassion. The baby, with fair skin and fine blonde hair, looked up at her with big, curious eyes. The area was deserted, with no sign of the man who had discarded the crib or anyone who might be looking for the child. Feeling a protective impulse, Maria knew she couldn't leave the baby there, exposed and alone. As she carried the child in her arms, her maternal instinct took over, and she silently promised to protect the little one. When she entered her home, her children, James and Lily, greeted her with curious looks. "Mom, who is this baby?" James asked, intrigued. With a mix of concern and determination, Maria replied, "This is someone who needs our help very much, and we are going to take care of them." In the following days, the arrival of the baby, whom Maria named Sophie, brought both joy and challenges. Initially, the neighborhood murmured about a black woman caring for a white child, casting judgmental and suspicious glances. But with firmness and love, Maria faced the adversities, defending little Sophie as if she were her own daughter. With the unwavering support of James and Lily, she showed the community that the true value of a family comes not from skin color, but from the love they share. Maria cared for Sophie with all the love and dedication she had for James and Lily. To her, Sophie was a daughter like any other, deserving of protection and affection. The household routine revolved around the children's needs. Maria woke up early, prepared breakfast, and took everyone to school before heading to work. With each smile from Sophie, Maria felt that she had made the right decision in taking the baby home that cold night. Sophie, now almost 2 years old, began to explore the world around her with curiosity and joy. She followed James and Lily everywhere, wanting to imitate everything they did. The siblings, in turn, loved playing with her and always protected her. When they were all together, it seemed that nothing could shake the happiness of that family. However, the community they lived in wasn't always welcoming. Neighbors watched with suspicion and made malicious comments. Nadine Parker, a bitter and prejudiced woman, was the main voice of discord. "What is a black woman doing with a white child?" she frequently murmured, inciting others to question Maria. Maria ignored these comments in public, but inside, each word hurt like an open wound. She knew she was doing the right thing, but the constant disapproval from the community was a heavy burden to bear. The situation worsened when Derek Parker, Nadine's son, decided to intimidate Sophie at the park or at school. Derek, only 6 years old, reflected his mother's prejudice in his cruel actions. On one of these difficult days, Maria was taking the children to play in the park. While James and Lily ran towards the swings, Sophie tripped and fell. Before Maria could reach her, Derek appeared and started mocking Sophie. "You don't belong here," he shouted, making Sophie cry. James, seeing the scene from a distance, ran to defend his sister. "Leave my sister alone," he shouted back, positioning himself between Derek and Sophie. Lily quickly joined them, facing Derek with the same determination. "She is our sister, and you can't talk to her like that," she added. The tension in the park was palpable, with other parents watching from a distance. Maria arrived quickly, picked Sophie up in her arms, and faced Derek firmly. "She is my daughter and always will be. If you have a problem, talk to me, not to a child," she said, trying to stay calm. Derek backed off, but the expression on his face showed that this would not be the last time. Maria knew she had to be strong, not just for Sophie, but for James and Lily too. They were learning from an early age the meaning of justice and equality. Even with the community's prejudice, the love within the Johnson family continued to grow, strengthening the bonds between them. At home, Maria talked to James and Lily about what had happened. "You were very brave today. Defending Sophie is very important, and I am very proud of you," she said, hugging her children. "But remember, we always need to respond to hate with love and understanding, even when it's hard." The children nodded, understanding the depth of their mother's words. That night, as she put Sophie to bed, Maria whispered, "I will always protect you, my little angel. No matter what happens, you are loved and always will be part of this family." Sophie, almost asleep, held Maria's finger with her small hand, confirming the unbreakable bond between them. 6 years passed, and Sophie, now 7 years old, grew up under Maria's dedicated care. The little girl, with her blonde hair and bright eyes, became a happy and healthy child. Sophie's joy and innocence were contagious, and she quickly won the hearts of many in the community. James and Lily, now 10 and 13 years old, took on more responsibilities in the family and continued to protect their younger sister with unconditional love. The Johnson home, always filled with laughter and affection, was a safe haven for Sophie. Maria made sure to create an environment where everyone felt loved and valued. She taught her children the importance of respect and unity, cultivating a spirit of solidarity admired by everyone around. The community, which had initially been prejudiced, began to accept and even embrace Sophie. It was a gradual process, started by community events and school activities where Sophie's radiant presence was undeniable. At one of these community parties, Maria was moved to see Sophie called to participate in a dance performance. The applause and smiles from the neighbors showed that Sophie was finally being accepted. However, acceptance did not eliminate Maria's worries. Sophie had started asking questions about her past, wanting to understand where she came from and why her skin was different from that of her mother and siblings. "Mom, why am I blonde? And you, James, and Lily are black?" she asked, her eyes full of childlike curiosity. Each question was like a small blow to Maria's heart, who tried to answer as best she could. "You are special, Sophie. You were a gift to our family, and we love you exactly as you are." Internally, Maria struggled with growing fear. She dreaded the day Sophie might want to seek her biological roots and potentially distance herself from the family that had welcomed her with so much love. The idea of losing Sophie was unbearable, and each time the girl mentioned her past, Maria felt her heart tighten. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, Emily Turner was finishing her studies in France. The young woman, now 25 years old, had been deeply marked by the loss of her daughter and the premature death of her mother. Returning to her homeland was bittersweet, filled with painful memories and a void that seemed never to be filled. "Why did you leave so soon? I needed you so much," Emily murmured in moments of pain, remembering her mother. One day, while walking through the mall, Emily encountered an old maid from her father's mansion, Elijah Turner. The woman who had worked for many years in the house recognized Emily immediately. "Miss Emily, what a surprise to see you here," said the woman with a look of nostalgia and apprehension. Emily, in search of any connection to her past, decided to talk to the maid. During the conversation, the woman revealed a secret she had kept for many years. "I quit because I heard something terrible, miss. I heard Elijah confessing to a friend that he threw a baby in the trash. It shocked me so much that I couldn't continue working there." The revelation hit Emily like a blow. Her father had always said he would take the baby for adoption, but the maid's confession suggested something much darker. Emily felt a mix of anger, sadness, and a new hope sprouting in her heart. Could that baby be her lost daughter? The pieces of the puzzle began to fit together, and Emily decided she needed to investigate further. Back in Maria's neighborhood, life continued with its family routine. Although Sophie was now accepted by most, Maria couldn't ignore the constant fear of losing her adopted daughter. Every question Sophie asked about her past made Maria fear that the girl would discover her true origins and perhaps choose to leave. It was a constant internal struggle between supporting Sophie's desire to know her roots and the fear that this might distance her from the family that loved her unconditionally. Emily felt her heart heavy as she drove to her father's mansion, Elijah Turner. The maid's revelation echoed in her mind, filling her with a mix of anger and sadness. Elijah had always been a distant and cold figure in her life, but she could never have imagined he was capable of something so cruel. With renewed determination, Emily knew she had to confront the man who had lied about her daughter's fate. Arriving at the imposing house where she grew up, Emily took a deep breath before entering. The mansion, filled with memories of a complicated childhood, felt more oppressive than ever. She found Elijah in his office, as always, surrounded by books and papers, his expression unperturbed. "Dad, we need to talk," said Emily, her voice tense. Elijah looked at her over his glasses, raising an eyebrow. "Emily, what brings you here so abruptly?" he asked, his voice smooth and controlled. "I know about the baby," Emily replied, trying to stay calm. "I know you lied when you said you would take her for adoption." Elijah remained silent for a moment, assessing the situation. "I don't know what you're talking about," he finally said, returning his attention to the papers in front of him. "Stop lying, Dad!" Emily shouted, her voice trembling with emotion. "I spoke with the old maid. She heard you confessing to a friend that you threw my daughter in the trash." Elijah's face hardened. He slowly stood up, his cold eyes fixed on Emily. "That woman was always a gossip. Are you going to believe her words over mine?" he asked, his voice icy and relentless. "I don't believe you," Emily retorted, her eyes filled with tears. "How could you do this? How could you lie to me all these years?" Elijah's coldness was frightening. "You have no idea what was involved in that situation, Emily. I did what I thought was best for everyone." "Best for whom? For you?" "Because it wasn't best for me and certainly not for my daughter." Emily was almost hysterical, the pain and anger mixing overwhelmingly. "You made me believe my daughter was safe when all you did was abandon her." "Enough!" Elijah slammed his hand on the desk, the sound echoing off the office walls. "You don't know what you're talking about. I protected you, protected our family from a bigger scandal." "Protected? You destroyed my life. I spent years wondering where my daughter was, if she was okay, and you just threw her away like she was trash," Emily shouted, the pain in her voice cutting through the air. "You want to talk about destruction? The shame you brought to our family by having a child with the gardener, a man who disappeared without a trace. Thank God he vanished and never showed up again." Elijah's voice was full of disdain. Emily felt a chill down her spine. Her father's coldness and indifference were unbearable. "I won't calm down, and I won't let this go," she said, her voice low but firm. "I will find out the truth, no matter what it takes." "Do what you think you must, but don't expect to find anything," Elijah replied, unconcerned. "And if I were you, I would think twice before making false accusations. It can be dangerous." Emily left her father's office with a heavy heart, but determined. She knew that the search for the truth would be difficult, but she couldn't rest until she found her daughter. Every step of that confrontation had revealed more about Elijah's true nature, and she was ready to face whatever it took to bring justice to her lost daughter. Emily was at home when she received unexpected news. Her father, Elijah Turner, would be honored for his acting career. The event, a grand gala ceremony, would be televised and watched by thousands of people. Reading the announcement in the newspaper, Emily felt a mix of anger and determination. It would be the perfect opportunity to expose the truth about what he had done with her daughter and increase the chances of finding someone who knew her whereabouts. Determined, Emily began planning every detail of her revelation. She knew she needed something solid to confront Elijah publicly. She contacted the old maid again, who agreed to provide a written statement. This testimony would be crucial in confronting her father in front of everyone. Meanwhile, she faced increasing difficulties. Many people who knew Elijah were reluctant to speak, fearing retaliation. Some former employees refused to help, claiming that Elijah had always been a good employer. Emily found herself alone in her struggle, but she did not lose heart. Each obstacle only reinforced her determination to reveal the truth. The preparation for the event brought constant tension. Emily needed to balance her emotions to avoid making mistakes. As the day of the tribute approached, the pressure on her shoulders increased. She mentally rehearsed what she would say, imagining the audience's reactions and Elijah's. She knew she needed to be firm and clear, leaving no room for doubt. Emily also thought about security. She knew Elijah might try to stop her from speaking, so she decided to enlist the help of a few trusted friends to ensure she had the chance to speak. They would position themselves strategically at the event, ready to intervene if necessary. Emily's courage was fueled by the image of her lost daughter. Each step she took, each difficulty she faced, was a step closer to achieving justice. She reviewed the maid's statement countless times, ensuring everything was in order. There could be no mistakes. On the day of the event, Emily dressed elegantly, disguising the internal storm she felt. Arriving at the venue, the grandeur of the ceremony intimidated her for a moment, but she quickly regained her composure. She looked around, seeing the familiar faces of the elite who had always idolized Elijah. Little did they know the dark secret about to be revealed. With the statement in hand and the plan well rehearsed, Emily took a deep breath, ready to confront her father and expose the truth in front of everyone. She knew she needed to be quick and impactful, hoping that someone in the audience or watching on television might have information about her daughter. Maria was at home, tidying up the kitchen while Sophie, James, and Lily did their homework. The television was on, broadcasting a talk show. Maria barely paid attention until a familiar voice made her stop. She looked at the screen and saw Elijah Turner, the famous actor, sitting in a leather armchair, chatting animatedly with the host. The sight of that moon made her heart race. He was the same man she had crib into the trash so many years ago. Maria felt a chill down her spine as she watched Elijah smile and talk about his brilliant career. The program announced that he would be honored at a grand gala ceremony, and watched by thousands of people. As she watched flashes of the mind, Elijah's face, the indifferent expression as he disposed of the crib, and the defenseless baby she found and took home. She remembered a particular day years ago when Sophie came home crying. "Mom, why am I different? Why do people laugh at me?" The girl's blue eyes shining with tears. Maria held her tightly, feeling her heart break with the laughter. "Dear from the community, we're still an open wound. Honey, you are special in your own way," Maria said, trying to comfort her daughter. "People sometimes don't understand what is different, but that doesn't change how..." Sophie sobbed once more before whispering, "I just want to be like everyone else." Maria turned off the TV, sitting heavily in the nearest chair. The tears came before she could contain them. The fear of facing Elijah and the pain of remembering that moment were overwhelming, but she couldn't stay silent. Sophie deserved to know the truth, and Elijah needed to be confronted for his actions. Determined, Maria decided she would go to the tribute. She didn't know exactly how she would do it, but she had to try. In the following days, Maria began planning how she would confront Elijah during the event. She sought advice from close friends and prepared emotionally for the encounter. She spoke with her older neighbor, Mrs. Teresa, who supported her with words of encouragement. "You need to do this for Sophie," Teresa said, holding Maria's trembling hands. Another night, Maria sat on Sophie's bed as the girl prepared for sleep. "Mom," Sophie said in a whisper, "why do people look at me differently at school?" Maria felt her heart tighten again. "People are afraid of what they don't know, my love, but you are perfect as you are. Always remember that." "I try, Mom, but sometimes it's hard. Sophie replied, her words filled with innocent pain. The idea of facing the man who had caused so much suffering made her anxious, but her love for Sophie strengthened her. As the day of the tribute approached, Maria mentally rehearsed what she would say. She knew she needed to be brave and clear so that everyone would understand the gravity of what Elijah had done. Each moment of preparation was an internal struggle, but Maria was determined not to let her fear stop her from seeking justice. The night before the event, Maria couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Sophie's face, remembering the nights when the girl cried, asking why she was different. "I have to do this," Maria thought with renewed determination. For Sophie. Finally, the day of the tribute arrived. Maria dressed carefully, trying to stay calm. James and Lily noticed their mother's tension and supported her as best they could. "We are with you, Mom," James said, holding her hand tightly. "Thank you, my loves," Maria replied, feeling grateful for her children's strength. As they headed to the event, Maria felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. But looking at Sophie, who seemed so innocent and confident, she knew she was doing the right thing. Her daughter's fate and the justice for what Elijah had done were about to be confronted. The date of the tribute to Elijah Turner approached quickly, bringing rising tension. Emily and Maria, each on their journey of discovery and justice, made their own preparations for the event, unaware of each other's plans. After confronting her father, Emily was more determined than ever. She spent hours reviewing the maid's statement, memorizing every detail, ready to present her case to the world. Sleepless nights were filled with thoughts of how the audience would react to the shocking truth about Elijah. Each time she read the statement, she felt a knot in her stomach, but also a spark of hope. Perhaps someone in the audience knew something about her daughter's whereabouts. Meanwhile, Maria also prepared for the tribute. She wanted to ensure that Sophie, James, and Lily were present because she felt that the truth needed to be confronted by the whole family. Maria had no idea of Emily's plans, but she felt an urgency to protect Sophie and confront Elijah for her daughter's sake. Convincing James and Lily to attend the event was a difficult task. They were worried about facing prejudice and hostility. "Mom, are you sure it's safe?" James asked, his voice filled with concern. Maria, trying to hide her own anxiety, replied, "We have to do this for Sophie. She deserves to know the truth." The words came out firm, but inside, Maria struggled against the fear that consumed her. Emily also faced obstacles. Finding people willing to support her and ensure her safety at the event was a challenge. She contacted trusted friends, explaining the situation and asking for help to ensure she could speak without interruptions. Each conversation reinforced her determination, but the anxiety also grew. The fear of failure and the possible repercussions of her exposure kept her in a constant state of alert. Both women, in their separate preparations, mentally reviewed what they would say. Emily, in front of the mirror, practiced her lines, visualizing the shock on Elijah's face and the audience's reaction. Maria, on the other hand, prepared emotionally for the confrontation, remembering the difficult moments Sophie faced and the need to protect her daughter. As the event approached, the pressure increased. Emily reinforced her determination, remembering the maid's words and the injustice committed. Each detail was meticulously reviewed, and she prepared for any reaction she might face. Maria sought strength in faith and love for her children. She talked to her neighbor, Mrs. Teresa, who had always supported her. "You are stronger than you think, Maria. Do this for Sophie," Teresa said, bringing comfort and courage. Both women, separated by their stories, were united by a common goal: the search for truth and justice. As the day of the tribute approached, their preparations intensified, each dealing with their fears and hopes uniquely but equally powerfully. The big day had arrived. The tribute event for Elijah Turner was one of the most anticipated of the year, attracting the attention of celebrities, journalists, and admirers from all over the country. The atmosphere was charged with expectation and tension, reflected in the bright lights and luxurious decor of the main hall, which sparkled with Hollywood glamour. Elijah was on stage, radiating confidence as he received praise from the master of ceremonies. People applauded enthusiastically, their faces full of admiration for the man they believed to be an icon. Elijah, impeccably dressed in a tailored suit, seemed to absorb every moment, his smile calculated and his words carefully chosen. Among the audience, Emily and Maria prepared to act. Emily, sitting next to some trusted friends, held the maid's statement tightly, feeling her heart race. Her eyes fixed on Elijah, she repeated her words mentally, trying to stay calm and clear amidst the internal storm. The fear of failure and the possibility of losing the chance to find her daughter consumed her, but she knew she had to be strong. Maria, accompanied by James, Lily, and Sophie, sat a few rows back. She watched the stage, her mind spinning with memories and fears. Every word Elijah spoke felt like a slap in the face, a reminder of what he had done. She looked at Sophie, who watched innocently, unaware of the storm about to unfold. With each passing second, Maria felt the weight of the world on her shoulders. How will I protect her from all this? She thought, pain and responsibility swirling in a whirlwind of emotions. As Elijah continued his speech, extolling his career and achievements, the tension in the air increased. The audience's reverent silence contrasted with the emotional turmoil of Emily and Maria. Elijah spoke of dedication, effort, and sacrifices, words that sounded empty and hypocritical to them. Emily took a deep breath, feeling courage grow within her. She knew the right moment was near. She looked at her friends around her, who nodded in silent support. "I'm here for you," one of them whispered, squeezing her hand. Maria, on the other hand, held Sophie's hand, feeling the responsibility and pain mixed in a whirlwind of emotions. Her children, noticing the gravity of the situation, stayed close, ready to support their mother and sister. "Are you okay, Mom?" James asked, his voice low and full of concern. "Yes, dear. We have to be strong for Sophie," Maria replied, trying to convey a calm she did not feel. Each second dragged on, their anxiety growing. Emily and Maria, though unknown to each other, shared the same purpose that night. Elijah continued to speak, unaware that his dark past was about to be revealed. In the crowd, whispers began to spread. People noticed the tension on Emily and Maria's faces, feeling that something unexpected was about to happen. The television cameras captured every detail, broadcasting live to thousands of viewers across the country. Emily felt a wave of nausea, remembering the sleepless nights, crying for her lost daughter. The time has come, she thought, standing up slowly. Maria, at the same time, felt tears well up. Why did he do this? How can someone be so cruel, she thought as she looked at Sophie, who was everything to her. A flashback crossed Maria's mind, the night she found Sophie crying in bed, asking why people treated her differently. "Mom, why am I different? Why do people laugh at me?" The pain in Sophie's eyes that night was unbearable. "Sweetheart, you are special in your own way," Maria said, trying to comfort her daughter. "People sometimes don't understand what is different, but that doesn't change how much you are loved." As Elijah approached the climax of his speech, the room seemed to shrink for Emily and Maria. Each, on her personal journey, felt the weight of the moment about to explode. Emily looked at the stage, the words burning in her throat, and Maria squeezed Sophie's hand tightly, seeking courage. The stage was set, and the protagonists of this final revelation prepared to take action, their stories intertwined by fate and the relentless pursuit of justice and truth. With courage growing inside her, Maria stood up from her seat, her children by her side, ready to support any decision she made. At the same time, Emily did the same, taking a deep breath and feeling the strength of her determination. They were about to change the course of their lives and reveal the truth hidden for so long. The grand hall was in absolute silence, all eyes fixed on Elijah Turner as he concluded his speech. The moment was charged with tension, but no one was prepared for what was about to happen next. Maria, with trembling hands and a racing heart, stood up from her seat. Her children, James, Lily, and Sophie, looked at her with surprise and concern. "Ladies and gentlemen," Maria began, her voice firm, though the nervousness was evident. "I have something to say about this man." Elijah stopped abruptly, his smile disappearing as he stared fixedly at Maria. "Who are you to speak about me?" he shot back, his voice filled with disdain. "Look at you." Before Maria could respond, Sophie stepped forward, her eyes shining with determination. "Don't talk about my mom like that," she shouted, her clear voice echoing through the hall. The audience began to murmur, surprised by the interruption. The murmur grew louder as they realized that Sophie, a white girl, was defending Maria, a black woman. Emily, who was further ahead, was shocked to hear the exchange. With her heart racing, she realized something important was about to happen. "This woman is crazy," Elijah continued, trying to regain control of the situation. "Security, get her out of here." Emily couldn't stay silent. She quickly stood up and approached the stage. "Wait," she shouted. "I am Emily Turner, Elijah's daughter. 6 years ago, I had a baby, and my father forced me to give her up for adoption. Recently, I discovered he abandoned her in the trash." The hall erupted in murmurs of shock and disbelief. The television cameras quickly turned to focus on Emily, broadcasting the scandal live. Elijah, momentarily paralyzed, seemed unable to comprehend the situation unfolding. His expression alternated between shock and fury. Maria looked at Emily, surprised and moved. "I saw him throwing a crib with a baby into the trash," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "Thank God I saw it and brought home my daughter, Sophie." Emily looked at Maria, the connection beginning to form. "Sophie?" Emily asked, turning to the girl. "Is her name Sophie?" Sophie, confused, looked from one to the other, trying to understand the situation. "Mom, what's happening?" she asked, her voice trembling. Maria knelt beside Sophie, holding her face tenderly. "Sophie, this is Emily. She is your biological mother. She has been searching for you all these years." Emily approached, tears streaming down her face. "Sophie, my angel, I am your mother. I never wanted to abandon you. Please believe me." Sophie looked at Emily, then at Maria, and finally at James and Lily. "I don't understand," she said, her voice weak, her eyes filled with tears. "We will understand everything together," Maria said, hugging Sophie. "You are part of our lives, and now your family has grown." Emily joined the hug, feeling the warmth and acceptance she had longed for. Maria's family, now including Emily, united in an unbreakable bond of love and understanding. The media captured every moment, broadcasting the story of pain, loss, and finally, redemption and unity. The scandal Elijah had tried to hide for years finally came to light, and the truth brought justice to Emily, Maria, and most importantly, to Sophie. As the hall calmed down, the new family remained together, knowing they had a long road ahead but that they would face it together, strengthened by the love they shared. The scandal involving Elijah Turner took on enormous proportions. The media couldn't stop covering the case, broadcasting each new development live. The shocking revelations during the tribute event were just the beginning. Authorities acted quickly, and Elijah was arrested, facing multiple charges related to abandoning his granddaughter. Elijah's trial was a public spectacle, broadcast to millions of viewers. The cameras captured every expression, every tear, and every moment of tension. Elijah, once an icon of admiration, was now seen as a villain. His reputation was destroyed, and the public, once loyal, turned their backs on him. Maria and Emily were the main witnesses. Their voices trembled but were firm as they told their stories. Emily described how Elijah forced her to give up her baby for adoption, and how she recently discovered he had abandoned her in the trash. Maria spoke with emotion about the night she found the discarded crib, rescuing little Sophie and raising her as her daughter. Their words were filled with pain and courage, and the audience, both in the courtroom and at home, felt the injustice of their stories. Elijah tried to maintain his composure, but his expression alternated between shock and fury. "These allegations are ridiculous," he repeated, but his words sounded empty. The truth was clear, and justice was being served. Each testimony reinforced the image of a man who had committed unforgivable acts. When the verdict was announced, the courtroom was packed. Elijah was found guilty, and his sentence was severe. The cameras focused on his face, capturing the expression of a defeated man. His career was in ruins, and he lost all public and professional support. As Elijah was taken away to serve his sentence, the media continued to cover the case, showing the disintegration of a life built on lies. Elijah Turner's downfall became an example for many, a lesson about the importance of truth and justice. Meanwhile, Maria, Emily, James, Lily, and Sophie began a new chapter. The union of the two families created a powerful and indestructible bond. Emily found peace knowing her daughter was safe and loved. Maria's home, which had always been a refuge, was now a place filled with hope and renewal. The community, initially hesitant, began to see Maria and Sophie with new eyes. Maria's courage in confronting Elijah and Sophie's innocence won the hearts of the people. Small gestures of support and solidarity appeared every day. Nadine Parker, once prejudiced and bitter, changed her behavior, trying to redeem herself and help the family. James and Lily, always protective of Sophie, continued to play a crucial role in their sister's adaptation to the new reality. Emily, integrating more and more, brought new perspectives and a deep gratitude for the family that cared for her daughter. On a sunny afternoon, the family gathered for a small picnic in the local park. Laughter and conversations filled the air, creating an atmosphere of joy and unity. Emily watched Sophie play with James and Lily, feeling a serenity she hadn't experienced in a long time. "We've been through so much, but we're here," Maria said, sitting next to Emily. "Together, we're stronger." Emily smiled, holding Maria's hand. "Yes, we are, and we have a bright future ahead." Overcoming adversity brought a deep sense of satisfaction and justice to everyone. The family, now united, looked to the future with hope and determination. Each challenge faced strengthened the bonds between them, creating a solid foundation of love and understanding. The renewed support from the community was a testament to change and acceptance. The story of Maria and Sophie became a symbol of resilience and redemption, inspiring others to overcome their own obstacles. The Johnson-Turner family, now united, became a living example that love and truth can overcome prejudice and pain. As time passed, Emily began to get more involved in family life and the community. She and Maria found ways to work together to support Sophie and the other children, creating an environment of care and mutual respect. Maria and Emily also began to participate in community events, sharing their story to educate people about the dangers of prejudice and the importance of acceptance. Nadine Parker, who had been a constant source of conflict, completely changed her stance. She sought out Maria to apologize for her previous behavior and began to get involved in initiatives to promote equality and unity in the community. Maria accepted her apologies, showing that forgiveness is also part of the healing and growth process. As Sophie grew, she continued to be a source of joy for everyone around her. With the support of her large family, she developed into a confident and compassionate young girl, determined to make a difference in the world. James and Lily continued to be her fierce defenders, always ready to protect and guide her. The story of the Johnson-Turner family was documented in a newspaper article that spread quickly, touching the hearts of many people. The report highlighted Maria's courage in rescuing Sophie and Emily's relentless search for her daughter. They became symbols of hope and resilience, inspiring other families to fight for justice and embrace the power of love. On a quiet evening, Maria and Emily sat on the porch of their house, watching the children play in the yard. The stars shone in the sky, and the sound of children's laughter filled the air. Emily looked at Maria with gratitude in her eyes. "I can never thank you enough for what you did for Sophie. You saved her life and brought light to mine." Maria smiled, holding Emily's hand. "We did this together. Sophie is our daughter, and we are building a better future for her and all of us." As the years passed, the family continued to grow in love and strength. Maria and Emily dedicated themselves to community projects, helping other families in difficult situations, and promoting the importance of acceptance and equality. Sophie, James, and Lily thrived, always knowing they were loved and supported. The story of Maria, Emily, and Sophie became a legacy of love and justice, reminding everyone that truth always prevails and that love is the most powerful force of all. United by adversity, the two families showed the world that together, we can overcome any obstacle and build a brighter future for the next generations.